we're going to remove the lower dash panel. I'm just going to apply outward pressure and remove it. It's held on by speed clips. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove this cover plate right here from the vehicle to give us a little bit more access. This is 8mm. We're going to remove the steering column cover plastic. We're going to apply pressure to the seam with our thumb. While we pull down. We're going to completely remove the steering column cover plastic. We're going to be installing our T-harness. We're going to be interrupting the ignition plug to the vehicle, and we're also going to be interrupting the immobilizer plug of the vehicle. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to press the release clip and unplug the ignition switch. We're going to press the release clip and unplug the immobilizer. We're going to locate the corresponding ends on our T-harness. This is the ignition plug. We're going to plug the ignition plug into the switch while we support the switch with our finger. We're going to plug it in until it clicks and locks firmly. We're now going to plug the ignition plug we removed from the vehicle's ignition switch into the other side of our T-harness. Now we are going to plug in the immobilizer harness. We're going to locate our immobilizer plug from our T-harness, plug it into the immobilizer. We're going to make sure we support the ring while we're plugging in. And now we're going to plug the plug that we removed from the immobilizer into the other end of our T-harness. We're going to make sure all plugs lock. We're going to install our diagnostic plug T-harness. Some diagnostic plugs unscrew and have a bracket or 90 degree and they hang under here. We're going to include a bracket in some of the kits, so check the description to see if the bracket is included. This diagnostic plug snaps into the cross member. We're going to go ahead, we're going to release it from the cross member. There's two tabs on the side. We're just going to push them in while we push back on the diagnostic plug, and we'll release it. We're going to take our diagnostic plug T-harness and we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug it into the diagnostic plug that we unclipped from the bracket. Now we're going to take the end that we have left and we're going to click it back into the bracket. This is now the diagnostic plug that you will use for the diagnostic functions when the vehicle's diagnostic plug is plugged into the other end of the T-harness. If you're installing the 100% plug-and-play remote starting system that activates from the OEM remote, the installation is complete. We're going to go ahead and pair our module to the vehicle. We're going to locate the program button on the module. We're going to hold the program button down while we plug in the 4-pin data plug on our T-harness. When we do this, the LEDs on the front are going to begin to cycle. We're going to want to release when we have a solid red LED. Go ahead and hold the button down. We're plugging in the 4-pin. We have a red light. We release the button. If you don't release in time, the lights will keep scrolling until you let the button out. So it'll just keep repeating the sequence for as long as you hold the button down. So I'm going to let it go through the sequence once, and then I'm going to release it on red. So with a solid red light, we're going to plug in the remaining connectors. Be very conscious not to touch the button while we're doing that. So we're going to plug in the red plug on the T-harness, and then we're going to plug in the 20-pin plug in the T-harness. Now we're going to plug in the white plug that comes from our diagnostic plug into the white port. To begin the two-key programming procedure, we're going to want to have both of our keys available separate and laid out on the seat. There's a timing element, so we want to make sure that we do the programming smooth and efficiently. So we have a solid red light, everything's plugged in. We're going to take our first key, we're going to put it in the ignition, turn the ignition to the run position. We're going to leave it in run for approximately 2 seconds. We're going to shut it off, take it out, take the second key, put it in the ignition, turn it to run. We'll leave it there for 2 seconds, take the key, shut it off, remove it. We're going to press the program button down until the ignition of the vehicle turns on, and we're going to release it. The red light will flash out, confirming that we have immobilizer programming. The red light will turn off, the blue light will come on and flash rapidly, confirming that we have CAN bus programming. The ignition to the vehicle will shut off, programming is complete. Now, if it doesn't flash out the red light, it's not seeing the immobilizer for some reason. And if it doesn't flash out with the blue light, it's not seeing the diagnostic plug T-harness for some reason. So if you have this going on, don't make several attempts. Use the support number on the front of the module and give me a call, and possibly I can help you, or you may have cloned keys and you cannot do 2-key programming. In the next parts of the video, I'm going to show you 1-key programming, but right now we're going to test our system. We're outside the vehicle. We're going to activate remote starting using the lock, unlock, lock sequence. This will give us a silent activation and no horn honking. We've started the vehicle silently. Now we're going to shut the engine off. We're going to repeat the activation sequence. Lock, unlock, lock. We're outside of our vehicle, and through programming we have set the unit to activate using lock, 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 or 3x lock. We're going to activate remote starting. We'll now shut the engine off by repeating the procedure. Now I'm going to show you 1-key programming using the same module, but a FLASHLINK programmer is required. We're going to start the 1-key pairing process just like the 2-key pairing process. We're going to hold the program button down while we plug in the 4-pin plug. We're going to release when the red LED is lit. We're now going to plug in the remaining connectors without touching the button. We're going to plug in the red plug. We're going to plug in the 20 pin. We're going to plug in the white plug from the diagnostic plug. At this point, we're going to press and release the programming button 1 time. When we do that, the red light will blink 1 time. We're now going to place the key in the ignition. We're going to turn the key to the run position. The red light will turn off, the yellow light will turn on. We're now going to shut the key off. The yellow light will turn off, the red light will turn on. We're now going to turn the key to the run position. We're going to leave the key in the run position for a second. The blue light will flash rapidly, and the module will alternate between red and yellow. We're now going to shut the key off and remove it from the ignition. We are ready to run the decryptor process. We're going to remove the module and bring it to the computer. In order to do 1-key programming, you need a programmer. These are 2 of the most popular programmers. The FLASHLINK Lite programmer is included with several of our kits. The FLASHLINK Lite is a cost-effective way to complete your installation using the decryptor process. The FLASHLINK Lite is limited to 8 total operations. The FLASHLINK 4 costs a little more than the FLASHLINK Lite, and it has unlimited use ability. You can flash as many modules as you'd like. We're at the computer. We're going to download the FlashLink Manager. We're going to go to the FORTIN website, ifar.ca. We're going to click on the Software tab. We're going to click on the download icon. We're going to click Download Now. We're going to agree to the end user license, and the program will be downloaded. We're going to open the program. Now you have to have a Windows 10 computer. So we're going to go ahead and open it. So we're going to allow it to make changes. We already have it installed, so it's not going to install. When you do this, it's going to install the program. You're going to follow the prompts. You're going to come to a form that's going to ask you some things. You're going to submit that information. You're going to get an email back. You're going to answer the email. Then you will have access to the FlashLink Manager. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the FlashLink Manager. We've opened the FlashLink Manager program. We're going to plug our module in. We want to make sure that we start the program before we plug in the module. If we're using the FlashLink Lite, that's definitely something you want to do. You want to plug the module after the program is up and running. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug in. We're using the FlashLink 4. So I'm plugging in. It's going to detect our module. With the FlashLink 4, you could come up in wizard mode. We don't want wizard mode. If you have the FlashLink Lite, wizard mode isn't available. But on the FlashLink 4, the wizard mode is here. So we're going to want to exit wizard mode by going up to the settings, gear cog, clicking it, and selecting go to pro mode. Everything's going to reboot. Let me turn that off. Okay, so we're in pro mode. We have our module connected. If you look here, you see it's for an F-150. They all use the same firmware. All the Fords in this year group use the same firmware, so it doesn't really matter what it says here. Important thing is that we have the 71.53 firmware loaded. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to select the decryptor tab over here. We're going to select send data. Going to wait. We're going to wait until the key codes are decrypted, loaded back onto the module. When this happens, it's going to give us an indication. So it can take several minutes. It can take 30 seconds. So there's a lot of variables that determine how long it takes. Just going to wait it out. As long as it doesn't kick you out, that's a good thing. That would mean you did something wrong in the data sampling process. The data sampling process are the steps leading up to decryption. Decryptor process has completed. It took several minutes. Estimate about 4 minutes. The key codes are now being loaded to the module. We have an indication that the process is complete. We're going to bring the module back to the vehicle and test it. We're back at our vehicle. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug our module in and test it. Just completed the single key programming. So when you plug in the module, you don't have to hold the button down. We're just going to straight plug in the 4-pin plug. Nothing on the module should illuminate. We're now going to plug in the 20 pin. And again, we're not touching the button at all. We're going to plug in the red plug and we're going to plug in the white plug. At this point, we're going to go ahead. We have all the plugs plugged in. We're going to test the module. We're outside of our vehicle. We're going to activate remote start. So we have successful one-key programming. We're going to go ahead and we're going to shut the engine off. So in this video, I'm showing you how to install the device, program the device with 2 keys, program the device with 1 key, and connect the parking lights. All this stuff applies to any Ford that uses the FORT1 or FORT4 and has a 40-bit key. Now if you look at the top of the key here, it has HA engraved in the key. These are 40-bit keys for this system. I'm going to do a plug-and-play remote starter on a Ford Fusion. The remote starter is going to activate by pressing lock, unlock, lock on the OEM remote. We can shut the engine off by repeating the activation sequence. I'm going to show you how to install the optional parking light relay. If you want to do the parking lights, make sure that you check the listing to see if it includes this, if this is something that you want. It's pretty easy. Everything's set up. There's going to be 2 connections to the vehicle, then 1 connection to the T-harness in order to make this vehicle's parking lights illuminate while the engine's running. I'm going to go ahead and show you where to get the parking lights. Parking lights for the vehicle are connected at the BCM. The schematic will show you exactly which wire to connect to using pin location. The orientation of these 2 plugs is looking at it from the back where the wires enter. Orientation on the diagnostic plug, which you don't have to make any connection for, is from the front looking at the plug. So just FYI on the diagnostic plug. So if you're going to have lock control and wrap system control, you have to complete the full install right here. So it gets a little bit entailed. But right now we're going to connect the parking lights. So we're going to find this plug on the BCM. We're going to locate this wire. And again, I'm telling you this because I'm not just showing you the Fusion. I'm showing you every Ford vehicle that the Ford 1 harness fits. So if you can understand this, you'll be able to do any vehicle that the harness fits, and you'll be able to connect the parking lights on any vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to find the parking light wire. So we're going to locate the vehicle's BCM. A lot of them have them on the driver's side right here. Some of them are on the passenger side. Some of the trucks are on the passenger side. So if your BCM's on the driver's side, you locate the plug shown in the diagram. Then you find the wire, you match up the plug, looking at it from the back. You orientate yourself so that the plug's in the same direction with the clip in the same direction. And then we're going to go ahead, we're going to put a test light on the wire that we suspect is the parking light wire by checking the drawing, and we're going to turn the parking lights on. The light's going to illuminate. Hard to see because my hand. Then we'll turn it off. The lights will shut off. So this is your parking light trigger wire. We're going to go ahead and we're going to tap this wire with a tap. Now you can make your connections however you want. There's posi taps, T-taps, strip and wrap. You make your connection how you want. I'm going to use T-taps on this connection here. Okay, so we're going to put our tap on the wire. We're going to go ahead and we're going to place the tap on the wire, and we're going to lock the tap shut. We're going to make sure that we put it on right so we don't cut the wire. So we have our tap installed. We're going to take our relay socket. We're going to put our yellow wire from the pre-configured relay socket into our parking light activation wire. Now when you plug these in, there should be resistance. They should plug in. They should not just slide in easy. So we have that one plugged in. Now we have to find constant power source to plug in our brown wire of our relay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to locate constant power. Now if we look on the plug below it, we have a white wire with a red stripe. This is testing as 12 volts positive. We're going to go ahead and just check it again. You see in my hand the light is lighting up when I probe it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to tap this wire too. So you want to stay back from the BCM plug so that if you do any damage, you can easily repair it. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put another tap on this wire. So this will be a bigger gauge wire, so it'll either take a blue or yellow tap. We're going to use a blue tap. So the color determines the gauge. Red is for smaller wires, blue is for medium wire, yellow for large wire. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug in to our blue tap that we've installed on our wire. Okay, so now in order to trigger the parking lights, the EVO puts out a negative signal. That's why we had to use a relay to get a positive signal to invert our polarity. So whenever we trigger this relay, it's basically going to connect the white wire with a red stripe to the parking light wire, activating the parking lights. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to connect this to our EVO. We're going to locate our optional wires. We're going to pull the brown wire with a white stripe. This is our parking light activation wire. So we're going to want to go ahead and we're going to want to strip the end of the wire. And we're going to want to connect it to the black wire on our relay. Now, every time this sees a ground signal, it'll turn on your parking lights. You can test it by touching this to the chassis of the vehicle and listen. The relay is activating every time we touch it. So you're going to want to insulate this connection, and we're going to go back outside and we're going to look at the vehicle now after it's been remote started. We're outside the vehicle. We're going to trigger remote starting now with the parking lights connected. So again, our sequence is lock, unlock, lock. And remember, we don't want to push them super fast. So now you can see you have parking light confirmation, and it's all the way around the vehicle. You have the marker lights on the side, you have the rear lights on, so it's hard to see. You can see the reflection in the door. If you look through the window on the driver's side there, you can see the reflection. And we have parking light activation. This will give you a visual indication that the vehicle is running. Not a bad idea to do the parking lights. Matter of fact, if it comes through the shop, it has to have the parking lights on every single installation. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to shut the engine off. Lock, unlock, lock.